You're listening to Rebel Spirituality with me, Sam Goldfinch. Here's the truth. Wisdom doesn't follow rules. So each week we're going to explore what it means to wake up your way so you can live a more peaceful, creative and inspired life no matter your circumstances. It's time to blaze your unique path to truth. Hey Rebel friend. So, today's question. Are your thoughts yours? And it's an interesting one, this. It's pretty obvious that if we reflect on it, we've all grown up in a cultural, familial, societal, political, etc., environment. No judgment on any of that. It's going to be, we just wherever we happen to have been born, we're in an alternate world. And then all of us are in our own unique reality tunnels within those worlds, if you like. So if I'd have grown up on the other side of the planet, I would have a different set of ideas, beliefs and opinions and values most likely. But how many of those things do we hold on to and attach to as if they're kind of ours, right? So it's quite an interesting thing to reflect on. What of it is actually yours, really? Now, it seems to me that the stuff that bubbles up from wisdom, from the truth of us, it's pretty, well, we often use words like knowing. I just knew it was the right thing for me, or I was following my joy and that was my heart's desire. That was the thing that I wanted to do or create in the world, whatever it might be. And those things seem remarkably simple very often. I often say that wisdom doesn't follow rules. So very often they don't play by the rule book of the things that we're, supposed to do or should be doing and all that kind of stuff. But it's like, fuck, this is the thing that I'm supposed to be doing. This is it for me. Like I can kind of feel that. And so I'm not for a second suggesting that there's no wisdom that we can trust, that there isn't like a guidance, that there isn't a knowing in us. Like absolutely that's honored for what it is. And I think it's also important for us to see like just how much of the stuff in our head isn't even ours. I can remember years ago when I first started coaching, someone was saying, most of the shoulds in your head don't belong to you. I should do this or I should do that. That's usually the voice of someone else or society. And I'm not going to say that that's always the case, but that stuck with me. I was like, it was the first time I'd kind of thought, oh, not only is the ultimate truth of me not my thinking, right? But most of that stuff that's in there is just not even mine. It's just kind of been thrown in there. And so I just think that's interesting to reflect on, because very often I talk to people a lot and they've taken ownership of their judgments. They've taken ownership of around addiction and behavior change. This is really quite interesting because something very powerful happens when people realize, oh shit, that voice in my head, that it's not really, that's not even mine, right? That's not me. And so someone might stop drinking or stop using or whatever. And then for a little while, that thought might ping up, oh, a drink, you could have a drink, or, you could do this or you could do that. But if it's seen for what it is, which is just an energetic movement based on conditioning, based on a behavior that we happen to fall into because we live in a society in which that substance is available, we realize, oh, that's not my thought, and something different moves in, a new level of consciousness arrives. And so many of the things that plague us as humans, ideas of not enoughness, stories, deficiency stories of something being wrong or us not being whole. What I'm suggesting is those are things that we have either been taught or things that we've picked up along the way or been told, and then we've just assumed that they're true because they feel true, but they're not even ours. Had you or I grown up in a different culture, in a different society, our values, our ideas, our beliefs, they'd be entirely different, right? And so it just looks to me central to freeing ourselves from so much of this stuff that swirls around. Like, it's not about trying to control everything or stop thoughts from coming up. Sid Banks used to say, a thought's neutral until it's kind of brought to life, if you like, right? So if you think about, thank goodness we don't all act on our mad thoughts, our crazy thoughts, right? If we did, we'd live in a very different world. I'm sure many more of us would be in prison or all sorts of stuff. The mind is like a programmed thing. It just plays imprints. It picks things up and just plays them out. And I certainly can't, I can't control that. Thoughts pop up. That's what they do if you investigate your experience. And yet we are actually able to hear something, have an insight that makes us realize, wow, I don't have to bring that one to life. And when we don't do that, many of those patterns start falling away. When you don't feed something, it dies. And the belief in something, the identification with something is the thing that's keeping it alive. Like, I lived for however many years with a bunch of ideas and thoughts, deficiency stories that I just believed in, and so they looked real, and so they just kind of hung about. But these days, I just don't take any of that stuff seriously. And I share this a lot with people because it seems so simple, and yet I'm gonna suggest it's true, and it's just something to reflect on, right? What if you've been designed perfectly? What if you've been designed in a way so that you're being shown when you're believing in something that isn't true about yourself, right? Anybody who believes in a story of not enoughness, or that they're broken, or that there's something wrong, that doesn't feel good. Well, that's wisdom. That's wisdom literally showing you, yeah, not that way. That's not true. And the more we come back to the formless, the more we come back to the truth of who we are before and beyond any of the crap we've picked up and any of the personality stuff, right? We come back into these deeper feeling states, into these feelings of connection and love and well-being and peace. Well, that's a signal. That's wisdom letting you know you've just taken a step closer to the truth of you, metaphorically, right? You can't actually get any closer. I remember once reading a book, and the instruction was to stand up and take a step closer to your true self. You can't get any closer to the truth of who you really are and what you really are. But every time we identify with a thought, we've effectively taken a step away from that, and it doesn't feel good. So there we go. Something to reflect on as you go about your day. Which of your thoughts are actually yours? And I'd be willing to bet that if you sit with that, you find out very few of them. I'll see you soon.